You've never been the Australian title holder before. How do you feel?
Yeah, no, I was pretty excited when I come off. I thought I'd go pretty good in it. I thought I'd be up in the placings, maybe third, second at best. And when I drove off, mate, it was pretty exciting. I'd never thought I'd get there at any stage within the next 2 or 3 years. Like, I was hoping in maybe 2 or 3 years' time I might get there, but I didn't think it would come this quick. So yeah, I'm hoping to work forward and aim to head to Sydney shortly in April for the world titles in the same event.
You were actually chopping against your good friend, weren't you?
Yeah, no, I was competing against Brad DeLosa. He's a former world champion in that event. He's won it at Sydney. He's also a great chopper, like right throughout the disciplines, whether it's standing, underhand, springboard.
How long have you been chopping against him?
Well, competitively against him, probably 2 to 3 years. I've been competing against him and been in the same type of events. But he's been around for probably 13, 14 years on the top circuit, and I've been chopping the whole time since. So I've grown up watching him compete at a higher level and working my way towards him, trying to work up to get as good as him and eventually hopefully beat him. So.
And you did?
Yeah, no, I finally got the goods.
So how did you get into wood chopping?
Well, from a young age, I was about 13 years old, and my younger brother Matthew, he was around 10 years of age at the time, and my grandfather Max used to chop, and also my uncles. And anyway, for some reason, my parents went away for the weekend, and I ended up going to the wood shop with my grandfather and my little brother, and I remember going along and then sitting out and watching it, and I remember just sitting there and thinking, geez, I might give this a go. And that was at Maxville Show, and Maxville is the week before Grafton, so we went home from Maxville, and that week I decided to give it a bit of a go, and that weekend at Grafton, my hometown, I had my first chop, which would have been probably 12, 13 years ago now.
Did you ever think you could be Aussie title as you were getting ready to take your first ever swing?
Well, I never thought that growing up as a kid. As we were growing up as a kid, we used to travel around to like the Royal shows and that sort of thing. We used to go to Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, and coming up through the ranks, I never thought I'd get to that stage. I always thought that I'd make a good chopper, but I never thought I'd get up there with the elite axemen. But now that I've got to this stage, it seems a little bit more in my grasp. But you need to work really hard towards it, and if you keep pushing for it, you can eventually get there.
So, why wood chop over a sport like rugby or cricket, something more mainstream? What's kept you chopping all these years?
Oh, I guess for a few years there, I've backed off a little bit throughout the sport.
How old were you when you went through that
on
period?
Other ventures and that. Always kept wood chopping, but more locally and that sort of thing. Once I'd left home and it got to the stage where you had to pay for everything yourself and your parents didn't support you, it got a bit harder to take on the sport. But now that I've finished my apprenticeship sort of thing and on a bit better wages as a tradesman and that, I've took it a bit more seriously and started seeing results. So I put a bit of extra time and effort into it.
Well, that's true in any sport. Once you graduate high school, there's nothing really for you to compete in unless you're one of those top athletes. So
unless you've got someone right behind you and you can get that good sponsorship from a young age and show that real promise. Nowadays, it's very hard. Like the way times are nowadays, if everything becomes a lot more expensive and harder to get at the moment. Like back in early days and that sort of thing, like I noticed like inflation's gone up. Like when we first started wood chopping, you could get an axe for $250, $300, and
this is a competing axe, not your regular axe.
Competition axe, and now if you're quite up with the serious axeman, you've got to nearly fork out $750, $800 per axe, and at a minimum you would take 6 axes to an event.
And you take 12, don't you?
At the Royal shows, I'll take from anywhere from 10 to sometimes even 15 axes to an event, just due to the variation of the wood. You need to take a whole lot of different grinds and size axes
So
what the
you'd
wood's
be
going to come
walking
out
around
like.
with $10,000 worth of axes.
Yeah. Sometimes you quite easily would. It doesn't all just come to you within a year or two. That's collecting them up over the space of 10 to 13 years of building up axes and that sort of thing. Like as you go through them, as you work up, you'll get a bigger axe and a lot thinner and other things like that. And as you're coming through the sport, your skills of sharpening them will come up with your skills of chopping.
Skills in sharpening?
Yeah, there is actually quite a lot in it, in getting your axe right. Anyone can get it sharp and right to shave you, but a lot of it is based on how the way the axe is being grinded. So with your axe, it will have a bevel, and in behind it will be hollowed out, so that when the axe goes in, the bevel will bust the chip out, and the hollow will come in behind the bevel and allow the axe to draw up into the log. So if your bevel and chisel aren't right to that species of wood, your axe only might travel 2 inches, as compared to an axe that's done right that might travel 4 to 5 inches.
Oh wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah, so a lot goes into it, and knowing the species of timber, being able to read the texture of the wood, the grain of the wood, and size up the log and say, this is the slope I need, this is the angle I need, this is how many hits I'll put in the front, this is how many hits I'll put in the back, and hopefully it'll come off for me.
And you said you come from a family of wood choppers, uncles, your grandfather, younger brother.
Yeah, I'm not too aware of my great-grandfather. I'm led to believe he might have chopped, but only here and there, very very rare. But my great-grandfather had 9 children, and 4 of the boys they all wood chopped. So I got 4 great uncles that competed in the sport. 3 great uncles and a grandfather that competed in the sport, as well as my 2 uncles, John and Scott. They also competed in the sport as well. And John and Max actually did a couple of tours of America when they were in younger days and that. My uncle actually went over there and travelled through America doing lumberjack shows.
And your grandfather Max, he's quite well known in the area, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got quite a bit of a reputation in front of him in the timber industry and that sort of thing. He's sort of had a bit of a hand at a lot of things that he's done, from two-rail fencing to logging to sawmilling and that sort of thing. He's been around the game for a long time, and he's quite a good coach. He's made sure from a young age that we've had a lot of respect for the axes and a lot of respect for the way that you cut wood.
They're sharp, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they're quite sharp. Like any little accident in the sport, it can cause major injury. Loss of toes, quite nasty gashes in your legs, maybe even loss of fingers when you sharpen it. It only takes your finger to slip off a stone while you're sharpening up an axe, and could be
You said you could
devastating.
shave with them.
Yeah, you can shave with them. Like once you get that axe honed right, the edge should be sharp enough to shave you.